Oh boy, in today's episode of Rabbit Throws Shit at the Wall and Sees What Sticks, we're going to just talk about Yooka-Laylee and Banjo-Kazooie and all that stuff because The Impossible Lair just came out and that made me want to share my opinions on things. So, I really don't know why I call these Rabbit Rants. I think it's just because it's alliterative. They're really more like Rabbit Ramblings, so if the title ever changes in the future, you know it was because of today's episode. But, so, as you know, Yooka-Laylee was a Kickstarter game in the style of Banjo-Kazooie, the platforming collectathon, get the thing, find the other thing, and use your things to find more things. It was fairly popular in the late 90s, early aughts, and then it just kind of tapered off. But I remember when I first got Banjo-Kazooie. It was my cousin's birthday, and of course, growing up in rural Indiana. And when I say rural Indiana, I mean my neighbors were corn on this side and beans on this side. So the only time I ever got to hear about new games were if I saw it in a magazine, or if my cousin or a friend played it. Like I got Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64 because my cousins had it, and I got Jet Force Gemini because a boy I was friends with in the Boy Scouts had it and let me borrow it, and I thought it was great, so I got my own copy. But yeah, I didn't have internet until I was a senior in high school, so that's everything is by like word of mouth. I lived in my own little bubble for the most part. So I was like 10 years old, and it was my cousin's birthday, and she got Banjo-Kazooie, and I remember playing it and being like, okay, this is kind of like Mario 64 mixed with Metroid, because you gotta get the moves to go further in the levels. That's cool, I guess. So I asked my parents for it, and then Mordecai just jumped on the couch. I asked my parents for it, and for Christmas that year, I ended up getting my own copy, which was pretty cool. And I got the strategy guide too, and I remembered reading that like cover to cover to cover to cover to cover to cover to cover every single day. If I wasn't playing Banjo-Kazooie, I was reading that fucking strategy guide. And like 2 years later, Banjo-Tooie came out, and it was good. It was definitely everything a sequel needs to be. As you know, I played Banjo-Kazooie on my channel, and I got about halfway through Tooie before I decided that I was sick and tired of the streaming apps, in the console. So that's on temporary hiatus until I get a proper capture card. But I think I played Kazooie 100% for the most part. Tooie, I'm gonna try to do 100%. We'll see. But now Tooie was everything a sequel needed to be, but sometimes it was too much. And we would later go on to learn how much too much exactly was with Donkey Kong 64, which really went out of its way to... I think Donkey Kong 64 gets a little bit more hate than it deserves. I'm not going to defend it. I'm not going to say that, oh boy, I love having to travel all the way back to a fucking barrel just to be able to collect items that I saw. They just tease you. It's like, look at all that shit I can't collect now because I'm playing as Diddy. I'm going to come back as Tiny or Funky or Piddly, the weird gonzo guy. But, so I understand a lot of people's frustrations with that. But, boy, it would get worse. It would get so much worse. So, when the Kickstarter for Yooka-Laylee popped up, I spent into it. I didn't spend anywhere near as much as I did for Mighty Number 9, but I still gave it enough to get the game. And just like my example with Bloodstained and Mighty Number 9, where Mighty Number 9, I wanted the Wii U version because, when I think of Mega Man, I think of Nintendo. Or like the same thing with Yooka-Laylee. When I kickstarted Yooka-Laylee, I asked for the Wii U version because when I think of Banjo-Kazooie, I think of Nintendo. And unfortunately, the Wii U version was canceled, so I did not get my copy until a full year later with the Switch release. And I could have gone out and oh Jesus, hold on. Okay, sorry, my computer like timed out on me. I'm gonna sit here and fidget with the mouse now. I could have gone out and let me test something actually. I could have gone out and like bought the PC version, or you know, I could have went out and let me see if this will work. Hey, I can pop it up in the middle. That's neat. I could have went out and got a different version, but I didn't. I work full time. I'm in school full time. I have nothing but patience, believe it or not. I played the toy box, and I thought the toy box was pretty cool. But when the actual game came out on Switch is when I got to play it for the first time. And the original Yooka-Laylee is just a miserable slog. And it's everything Donkey Kong 64 did 100 times worse. The levels are absolutely horrendously gigantic. I cannot emphasize, like, if you've never played Yooka-Laylee before, the levels are just absurd. Imagine if every single level of Yooka-Laylee feels like every single level of Mario 64 combined. I mean, they are outrageously huge. Nothing makes sense. Nothing flows organically. Like, if you can go back to Banjo-Kazooie, and you can think of Mumbo's Mountain. And where is Mumbo's hut? It's on top of Mumbo's Mountain. That's why it's called Mumbo's fucking Mountain. If it were in Yooka-Laylee, it would be like, what's her name? Is it like Dr. Quasar or something like that? Let's just pretend it's Dr. Quasar. I'm not going to look it up. We're just going to pretend. So if it were in Yooka-Laylee, it would be Professor Quasar's laser in the middle of fucking nowhere. It feels like they made the world's first and then went, oh shit, we gotta put a game around this. So in Banjo-Kazooie, the notes would be like along a path leading to something, but in Yooka-Laylee, it's like, fuck it, put some feathers over there, put some feathers over there. There's in the first level, there's like a corner of like the level just completely tucked away from everything with a fucking quill in it. Why? It just... And there's 200 of the motherfucking things, and none of them make any logical sense. They're just there. They just pepper it. Like, it's like they made a program that was just like, throw shit everywhere and see what happens. And the premise of needing more pages to fill the level out, they never should have done that. I swear their Kickstarter said that, like, oh, the level would be like clouded in and you just couldn't go to certain places until you fill out the pages, and then more of the level will expand. And the actual release of the game did not do that. The actual, like, let's use the casino as an example, because the casino is already the worst level in the game. Everybody hates it, and having to collect the pages just makes it worse. So you go to the casino level, and it's just a collection of the world's shittiest Unity minigames. And there's a section of the level that's just like closed off with caution tape, and you save up 15 extra pages to open this door. And that's pretty much the extent of this in every level. So like in the first level, it's just this giant jungle in the middle of fucking nowhere, and you will just run through all these paths that are just full of nothing. And then you add the extra 10 pages or whatever to expand the level, and there's like, maybe they put a guy in that expanse of nothing. So it was just this... It was this feature that just didn't need to exist. It should have just been the whole level from the start, because it's not like there's anything to do anyway. So the sequel got announced like half a year ago. And it wasn't a collectathon anymore. They like stole the gameplay style from Donkey Kong 64. And I remembered looking at that original trailer and went, wow, so they fucked up Banjo-Kazooie, and now they're going to go after Donkey Kong. If this fails, is the third one gonna be like GoldenEye? Like, what's going on here? Are we just gonna keep throwing shit at the wall until we figure it out? And for its credit, let me interrupt this real quick. I want to like Yooka-Laylee. That's you don't buy shit like this if you don't have some kind of faith in the product. And I want to have faith in Yooka-Laylee. The first Yooka-Laylee game is a legitimate 3 out of 10. It is absolutely horrendous. I would not wish that game on my worst enemies. And these fucking assholes on the internet who sit there and go, oh, well, I don't understand. It's everything. I mean, it's just a Banjo game. That's what you people asked for, right? No, that is absolutely... I did not ask for sprawling expanses of fucking nothing and, like, the shittiest moves ever. Like, oh, he farts in a bubble, and that's how you walk underwater. Like, that shit is awful. But then the Impossible Lair comes along. And I bought a copy. I have it physically on the Switch. And, I figured I might as well get the sequel where I have the original game. And I watched, like, a couple people stream it. I watched the Game Explain video about it. I had, like, Vinny on in the background while I was doing some homework the other night. And it's just, like, it's good. And then I played my own copy, and I made it to, like, the first major boss, not considering the tutorial, but, like, I've got a couple of the B-Talion or whatever, it's good. Like, really, really fucking good. So, I guess what I would have to say is that Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is the perfect example of why sometimes game developers deserve a second chance. And I think that they did genuinely realize their fuck up. I don't think they're going to flat out admit that it was a problem, but I think they did, like, realize, wow, that first one sucked. Let's try this. Because the thing I was saying earlier about the quills, they throw fucking quills at you like coins in Mario. They want you to go nuts. And the platforming is tight. The controls are amazing. It does not feel like plastered Unity garbage like the original Yooka-Laylee did. So if I called the original Yooka-Laylee a 3 out of 10, I would call the Impossible Lair like a genuine 9 out of 10. Like, this is... the only thing I can compare this to is, like, myself. When I graduated high school, I just barely fucking graduated. I barely finished algebra by the seat of my ass. And now I'm in college doing statistics. Like, who gives a shit about algebra? Like, the biggest possible improvement you could have possibly have made. And they did it. So, if Yooka-Laylee 3 comes out and it sucks, Platonic, what are you doing? But for the most part, yeah. The Impossible Lair is totally worth it. It's totally worth your money. They really did fix their mistakes. And the only way you could fix the original Yooka-Laylee is to just remake the fucking game. And it's kind of like Mighty Gunvolt Burst. Until the very end of the game, Mighty Gunvolt Burst follows the story of Mighty Number 9 and makes it like a little bit more palatable. Because, of course, Mighty Number 9 was also a steaming pile of hot garbage. But, yeah. The Impossible Lair is fucking fantastic. If you haven't played it, if you can get a copy of it, do it. It's not like you need to know the rich story of Yooka-Laylee anyway. It's a sequel. And their gimmick of, you can tackle the Impossible Lair at any time you want, that's fucking cool. I mean, they pulled out all the stops. They fixed everything they could have possibly have fixed about the original, and that's just amazing. So yeah, obviously, you got bills and shit. Don't just buy games willy-nilly. Come on now, that's ridiculous. But like, if you're on the fence, like, man, should I get Impossible Lair? Do it, absolutely do it. What I got like 15 subscribers. What do you think? You think I'm shilling? You think they sent me a copy? I'm being dead ass serious. It is really a good game. Worth your time. 2 thumbs up.